All right, Kyle. Hey, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Anthony.
So, we were just talking about how I've been doing PPC or paid per search or PPC exactly. What does that stand for exactly?
Pay per click.
Very good, very good. So, I've been doing my own pay per click for my law practice for almost 15 years back when I think nobody was doing it. I think I was paying like 50 cents a click. It was awesome back then. So I'm really interested about your story and your journey from, an entrepreneur who is trying to do it on your own. Then I think you try to, correct anything that I'm getting wrong here. Then you try to outsource it and get outside expertise. And then you were like, oh, you know what? Nobody really knows anything. Let me just figure this out on my own. And tell me if I'm getting any of that wrong, please.
Yeah, so that's the gist of it. So I started out with PPC, specifically Google AdWords, when I was running a junk removal company. So I had recently quit a very cushy corporate job working for eBay, decided I just wasn't cut out to work for anybody, and went out and started this junk removal company. And
by the way, that is just hilarious because I work with junk removal companies all the time. I'm an executor for estates, so we do cleanouts. Yeah. Another coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, my income went to negative when I made this move, which was fine at the time. I didn't have a family; it was just me. I knew if nothing worked out, I could go get another job. But I didn't like that prospect. I really wanted to figure it out, figure out how to run a business, and very quickly realized that I needed more customers. So how do you get more customers? Well, you need to advertise, right? So that launched me into this whole journey of figuring out marketing and advertising.
What year was this, just so we can get some context?
So this would have been 7 years ago.
Okay, so there was Facebook, there was iPhones, there was. I'm just trying to get a sense of the scope, landscape, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of developed this mindset that I wasn't even really in the junk removal business. It wasn't a passion of mine or anything. It's just something I fell into. What I was in was the marketing business. And the thing I was marketing just happened to be this junk removal company. So did a lot of stuff and just kind of figured out what worked, what didn't work. Did newspaper ads, postcard mailers, Facebook ads, SEO, and Google ads. At the time called Google AdWords, and that was just something that kind of spoke to me, like something I fell into because it really interested me. There were so many things going on. There's always something you can be updating, changing in your Google Ads account. So that's probably, as a restless entrepreneur, always needing something to do. Well, there it was. There's always something to do in that account. So,
well, hold on. I want to stop you right there and ask you a question because this really speaks to me. I'm a big fan of PPC versus SEO, which is, for anyone who doesn't understand, search engine optimization. And the same could be said for SEO. There's always something you can be tweaking or some content you could be creating. So what about pay per click advertising spoke to you or draws you in more than search engine? I'm asking so I can figure out why I like it more too. I'm trying to figure out why we're built this way.
So one reason I'm not like a big fan of spending a bunch of time writing content. I do it in my current business, which we'll get to, but there wasn't it was more of an instant gratification thing. I could make a change in my account and immediately see the results of that, good or bad. So that's probably what drew me into it. And I've just always been kind of a numbers guy. I like looking at data, and there's no lack of data to analyze in a Google ad account. So if I had to give you an answer, that would be why it drew me in. I'm also good with the written word. I don't necessarily like writing a lot, but I know how. So kind of just all these skills that I had came together really nicely. Numbers, short written words in the form of these Google ads, and just analyzing data and figuring out, what is it that people are searching for on Google that I want to put my ad in front of? What should that ad say? How much should I pay for that? All that kind of stuff just kind of came together.
What were you doing at eBay when you were there? Was it anything related?
No, not at all. So it was actually a subsidiary of eBay that managed e-commerce websites and customer service for a number of other brands. So not directly managing customer service for eBay, but they own, I don't know exactly if they still do, what it looks like now, but brands like Toys R Us, they were managing their website, their customer service. So I was kind of a brand manager, brand liaison for that type of stuff.
Cool.
So not really at all related. It did give me a little bit of e-commerce experience, which here and there helps out with what I'm doing now, but I wouldn't say it really prepared me. Just another thing I fell into, and a job that I needed, and I got it, and just kind of went from there.
So what was the, you mentioned that you kind of realized you're more of a marketing entrepreneur than a junk removal entrepreneur. When did you hit that realization? What was like the sort of moment when you realized, I'm not in the junk removal business, I am in the marketing business, and I'm my own client, essentially, right? And my own junk removal business is my own client. Is that kind of, am I reading that correctly?
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I probably just heard it, someone else say something similar. I was listening to different marketing podcasts and stuff like that. So I don't know who exactly I would have heard it from, but it was probably someone else that said, really, if you're a business owner of any type, you should look at yourself as a marketer. At the time it clicked, and I still believe that, if you're not a marketer yourself, you better hire a really good marketer to help, because that's what's going to drive any business is marketing and more customers.
Yeah. So how did you make the transition from the junk removal business to what I understand is, or tell me where you are now. How has your business evolved?
Yeah. So I was doing the Google ad stuff for my junk removal business, reading books about it, trying to get better at it. Started helping out other people with their campaigns. The way I did that was actually, I threw up a gig on Fiverr.com. Okay. I'd realized I'd gotten to the point where I knew way more about Google ads than 99% of people. I still wanted to improve. I figured the way to improve was going to be to just help other people. So that's what I did. For $5, I was setting up full campaigns for people. And this is something.
You didn't have a mid-tier or high-level gig? You were doing it for $5?
Well, eventually I did. But when you start out on Fiverr, at least at that time, $5 was your only option.
Wow.
So I just focused on setting up good campaigns and getting good feedback from people, and eventually built it up to this thing that kind of launched this business. At the time, I didn't even know that this was a business. I didn't know that you could really have a business just managing Google Ads accounts for people. But once, one of the first people I set up a campaign for $5 reached out and said, can you run this for me now? Like, how much can I pay you to just do this for me? So I figured out, so that's when I looked and realized there are companies that do that, figured out what I should charge, which maybe at the time made sense because I was so new. But now I look at what I was charging people, and it was just completely ridiculous. No possible way, I wasn't even doing them a good service, because if you're paying someone as little as they were paying me, you just don't value what they're doing at all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened is those customers just kind of fell off the map, not necessarily because they were getting bad results or anything. They just decided to do it themselves, or they weren't committed to begin with. So anyway, so that's how it started, and then it started evolving, and I started realizing that I should be charging more and making sure that I'm providing that value, and tracking results is a huge thing. And started early on, I wrote a short book about Google Ads that's still on Amazon. It's slightly outdated now. For the most part, people still buy it. It still makes sense, but I've just learned so much even since then, and that was just a couple years ago.
What's the name of the book?
It's Essential AdWords. And I updated it. So I guess I wrote it 4 years ago. I put out an updated version in 2018 and just haven't updated it since then. So it's not super out of date. It's still very relevant. There's just little things here and there that have changed with the system. So yeah, that's I guess how things started to grow, and I've since then put out more training. I have a couple different training programs that are really up to date and comprehensive, which is why I haven't really bothered to update the book.
Training programs for entrepreneurs or training programs for folks who want to be in the business of providing AdWords services for entrepreneurs? Or both, I guess.
So both. So the core of my training shows you how to set up a campaign specifically for local businesses from start to finish. So people sign up for that who are local business owners, and they also sign up for that if they're a marketer who wants to have more local business owners as clients. So yeah, that's both. That program is called Elite Local Ads. Okay. But still, like, the core of my business, my main focus is servicing clients. And that's just evolved over the years to where I'm working with bigger and bigger clients who have bigger goals, bigger budgets. And I'm still able to work with about 20 clients is all I'm working with right now. Mm-hmm. But they're just bigger, higher level clients. So I have a pretty successful business, only getting paid by 20 clients per month.
Are your clients mostly service-based industries or any retail? Like, who do you help mostly?
So as of now, it's two basic type of client. So service-based businesses is probably about half of it. Mm-hmm. Local construction companies, lawyers. Different things like that, where the goal of the campaign is to generate leads. The client then answers the phone or responds to a form that was filled out on their site, and they turn that lead into a customer. So that's about half of it. That's the type of campaign my Elite Local Ads course focuses on, is basically local business lead generation. The other type of client is doing YouTube ads, specifically for information type products. So you may have seen YouTube ads like this, where someone's inviting you to go watch a webinar or some type of presentation. Also on Facebook, obviously, there's a lot of ads like that. From there, they'll teach something on the webinar, and then they'll sell a program, a paid program on that topic. So that's what I'm doing with YouTube ads. I found it to be very successful. There's not a lot of people doing it. There's a lot of people doing that type of thing with Facebook ads. Not many people have really figured it out with YouTube ads, from what I've found. So I've found this is within just the last year or so. I've really found a new market with YouTube ads. Because it's the same platform as Google Ads, I've been able to take a lot of what I've learned, what I've developed with Google Ads, and apply it to YouTube ads in a way that people wouldn't really be able to do if they're just coming from Facebook ads and then trying to do YouTube ads in a similar way. That doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So having this knowledge of how Google Ads works and how that system works has been a huge benefit with these YouTube ads.
So I've been tinkering with YouTube, and warning to the listeners, this is going to be some pretty technical, nerdy stuff here. But so my personal experience has been that the similar to audience that Google creates has not been nearly as on point as the lookalike audiences from Facebook. I don't know if you do Facebook much at all, so I'm not sure if this is going to make sense to you. But are you also finding that? Because, I mean, I know you can get cheap views and even clicks through YouTube ads, but I'm not sure I'm building a really strong audience. This is for retargeting and remarketing purposes, yeah? Have you had that experience at all in terms of the similar to audiences that YouTube generates or Google Ads generates for you? It just doesn't seem to be as strong a connection, yeah.
No, what you're saying is 100% true. Google's similar audiences are no good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I haven't gotten them to work in a campaign, even like with a client that has thousands of customers who've actually like paid them money. We try to create a similar audience with them. It just doesn't work. The Google's algorithms are not set up very well for that particular thing. They work for other things, but for the similar audience, the way that it works, and this will probably get pretty nerdy too, but I could explain a little like why it doesn't work. So they're basically saying, okay, from this audience that you gave us, these people are interested in these things. They're interested in baseball. They're interested in taking trips to Spain. They're interested in wine, or whatever these interests are, and then they try to back out those interests and create an audience of people interested in those same things. And what I've seen happen is the audiences just are too random and too big. There's too many people that get thrown into those similar lists, and I think that's why they don't work.
Yeah, because I feel like using your own example, let's say you're a locksmith, right? And Google's building this audience of people who like baseball and who like to travel to Spain. Just because one person who fit that profile happened to get locked out of their house, that doesn't mean other baseball fans who want to go to Spain get locked out of, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem to quite work.
Right. Yeah. So similar audiences, I still try them here and there, hoping that maybe at some point they'll work, but in my experience, they don't. But there are plenty of audiences that do work just fantastically well with YouTube ads. So it just kind of depends on who you're trying to reach, what the goal of the campaign is, and you can often, I was going to say usually, but I won't say that. I'll say you can often find the audience you're looking for on YouTube. Now, some reasons you can't find the audience you're looking for is if it's just too specific, if those people aren't really hanging out on YouTube, or if they're not really doing anything that would identify them as being in that audience. So, for example, if I'm trying to reach lawyers on Facebook, it's really easy. I can target people who've identified their occupation as being an attorney, right? Or I can target different trade associations that only attorneys would belong to. That type of targeting is possible with Facebook. Right. YouTube has nothing like that. Google has nothing like that. They don't really know what you do for a living because you haven't told them. You don't know which trade associations you're a member of because you haven't told them. They can only go based on what they know about you.
What you search for, yeah.
Right. So what are you searching for? What types of videos are you watching? So there are some channels on YouTube that only lawyers are going to be watching, okay? But not a lot. So the absolute best type of targeting on YouTube is targeting specific videos and channels that people are watching. Okay, if I'm targeting a channel about quilting, and I'm trying to get leads for someone who sells a quilting course, that's a no-brainer. I target videos and channels about quilting. I'm going to get those. The exact type of people I'm looking for are going to see that ad. Now, if I'm trying to target lawyers on YouTube, yeah, there are some channels that are specific to lawyers. Most of them don't run ads because they're not trying to make money from ad revenue. They probably have their channel set up to generate their own business on YouTube. So that's one problem. Plus, most of these channels don't meet the requirements of YouTube to run ads in the first place. Like, you need 1,000 subscribers for that to even be an option, plus some other requirements too. But if you're just targeting a really niche channel, they probably aren't even allowed to run ads. And if they're allowed, there's a good chance they don't run ads because they're not really going to make much money on ads. Their main goal in the channel in the first place wasn't to make ad revenue. It was to get more business for their thing. So all that just to say that the more specific, the more niche audience you're trying to reach on YouTube, it's going to be hard or maybe impossible. If you're reaching a more general audience or an audience that has like a lot of good content and big channels on YouTube, then it's pretty easy to reach that audience.
Have you tried video funneling at all? Do you know what that is?
Go ahead and explain it.
Sure. Yeah, this is what my understanding is, where because YouTube views are so cheap right now, you create, let's say, for me, for example, my target audience is somebody who's either the heir or family member of somebody else who's passed away, right? So they need to go through the whole estate process. So I'll have 3 levels of videos, the funnel. At the high end of the funnel will be very, very general information, like, if somebody has passed away, here are the first 7 things you should be looking to do, like notifying the family, funeral arrangements, that kind of stuff. So then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if I can identify the people who have at least interest in that level. I move them down I remarket them down to the next level, which would be something that's a little bit more contoured to my services. Like, okay, now I'm showing this video to people who have at least demonstrated some interest in that relatively unique situation. I mean, everyone does, but so a relatively unique situation. Then I move it on to, are you looking for a lawyer? Does your situation merit hiring a probate attorney or something like that? And then if of the subset of people who have watched that video as well, now I think I've created my own audience of people who are at least potentially interested in hiring an attorney. And then I have my sort of call to action video at the bottom of the funnel. Are you familiar with that at all? And have you tried that?
Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar with that. I know it's a strategy that a lot of people use with Facebook. Right. So I have clients asking to do it on YouTube, but my response has been that it's not going to work like you're hoping. So with YouTube ads, you don't get to set. So with Facebook, you can say, okay, if someone watched 50% of this video or 75% of this video, I want them on my retargeting audience. You can't do that with YouTube ads. If someone sees that ad, it's either, so if they reach 30 seconds of the ad, then they're considered a viewer. But in my experience, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were even interested in the ad. Okay. A lot of people kind of have YouTube on passively, or just like when people used to watch TV. Maybe people still watch TV and sit through commercials, but that's when they'd get up and go do something. So a lot of people, it's the same thing. People might just let a YouTube ad play for no real reason. That doesn't necessarily show that they are interested in the thing.
No, I totally
Now,
agree. But I was hoping that because it's literally like 1/10 the cost per view of Facebook, even if you filter out or take into account those wasted views or not or non-legitimate views, it would still be worth it. But my data has been showing what you're saying. It's really not working.
yeah, especially if so I run a lot of lead generation campaigns. We're getting leads for a really good cost. Like they watch one video, they opt into something. That works. I don't need to filter them before they see that first video. I'd rather show them one video and get them to do something than have to show them multiple videos before they do something. Yeah, it can be a cheap cost per view.
Yeah.
But I just don't see a point in showing someone 3 different videos before I really get them to take action on something. I'd rather get them to take action right away.
Do you have and I want to sort of wrap us up towards. I hope, by the way, this conversation is clearly demonstrating that Kyle knows what he's talking about. For anyone who's interested in learning more about PPC in general, but do you have a recommended script or format for these YouTube almost like a landing page template, but for a video, as it were, if that makes sense?
Right. So I try to steer away from that. There are certainly some basic formulas that work. You need to get attention, generate some interest, usually providing some type of value, and then saying, okay, basically you just learned some really cool stuff. Do you want to learn more? Come over here. Come opt in for my webinar or my book or whatever. That's a basic template that works. But no, I don't necessarily have a script. I've seen so many different things that work on YouTube. So many different things from one client to the next, or even just within like the same client doing different types of videos that when I'm working with a client, I'll send them a list of videos that other people have run that they can go get some ideas from, ads that have really worked. But I like when people come up with new ideas. Like that's, I think, can really work better than trying to follow a script.
Yeah. Hey, last technical question, Kyle, before we talk about your podcast and the Facebook groups that you have available for folks who are interested in this kind of nerdy talk. Do you have a strong preference in terms of in-stream videos versus discoveries, or does it kind of depend on the situation?
So the vast majority of ad dollars I'm spending are going to in-stream ads. Discovery ads have their place. Usually, I just use those for like retargeting, or like I have a couple clients now who want to get more subscribers to their channel. We're using discovery ads for that type of thing. But for lead generation ads, for direct response ads, in-stream is where it's at. You can show the videos to the right people. And it's not even necessarily that the cost per view is so low. It's just that people's attention is so high. You're not watching YouTube at a red light, and you're not watching YouTube in a waiting room, with the sound off, like you would be doing on Facebook. Facebook attention span is super low. People, they're looking at it while they're driving. They're not gonna. Something might interest them. They might go sign up for something and then immediately forget what they signed up for. YouTube, people are actually sitting down. They're watching these videos. So if something else catches their attention, the chance that they would actually spend a little more time with you and the thing that you're trying to sell them is just super high. Their attention is already there. They've already decided they want to spend some time and watch some videos. So if you give them something compelling to do or something else compelling to watch, there's actually a really good chance they're going to do that right away. And if not, they'll save it for later because they've invested enough attention in it already that they'll actually remember what it is that they wanted to do. So YouTube attention is just super high. So if I'm able to show them an in-stream ad that speaks to them, the chance of them signing up for my thing is pretty high. Sometimes that comes from 1 or 2 cent views. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the views are 30, 40 cents. It depends a lot on the market, but both of those ends of the spectrum can work if you have your targeting right and if you're offering something valuable.
Cool. So tell us about your podcast and what are some of the things you guys talk about? Or is it just you?
Yeah, so it's just me. So I've just launched this less than a month ago now, but I launched it with 30 episodes. So what I wanted to do with the podcast is really just answer people's questions, common questions that people have about Google Ads. So I looked at these first 30 episodes as what are the most common questions that I see. The very first episode, I'm answering the question, what is Google Ads? So that's how basic it starts. And then it just kind of goes up, getting more and more advanced. Now, at this point, I'm actually taking questions from listeners. They're either writing them in or calling them in. So now I'm answering specific questions people have, but these are just bite-sized episodes, about 10 minutes each, where I'm answering a specific question about Google Ads or about YouTube ads. Yeah, that's called Google Ads Strategy. It should be available on pretty much any podcasting platform. If you just search Google Ads Strategy, it should come up. It's called Google Ads Strategy with Kyle Sulerud. But yeah, go check it out. Send me your questions. I'll be happy to try answer them.
Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe, and I'm probably gonna send you some questions. So watch out for that.
Good, perfect.
And you have some Facebook groups. I'm not a big Facebook guy, so I'm not really into that. But please tell me a little bit about that. Yeah,
so I have a Google Ads Facebook group called Google Ads Strategy. That's kind of where I pulled in the name for my podcast. If you search Google Ads Strategy on Facebook, you should find it. Currently, that group has about 30,000 members. And then more recently, I started a group, YouTube Ads Strategy. We're at about 1,000 members in that group right now. I just wanted to try to thin out some of the questions in my other group. So that's why I started the group specific to YouTube. But yeah, whatever you're interested in, go join one of those groups. You'll find the discussions are pretty valuable. I do a lot of work to eliminate spam. So they are good groups, and you're welcome to come join.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's all I had, Kyle. Is there anything else you want to mention before we sign off here?
No, that's it. If you're just brand new to Google Ads, really, the podcast is the place to start. That'll kind of walk you along the path of learning what it is, learning the basic terminology, and what some of the possibilities are with it. If you're more advanced, you can go find my more advanced stuff. You can reach out to me if you're interested in help. I turn away a lot more clients than I accept, but I am accepting clients. So if it's a good fit, we can talk about working together on that level also.
Very good. Hey, thanks for jumping on and sharing or having this nerd talk with me. I really enjoyed it, actually. I'm not sure if anyone else will, but I think there will be a niche audience that will really appreciate this talk, yeah?
Yeah, I had fun. Thank you.
All right, don't hang up yet. I'm just going to sign off with the guests, and then I'll say goodbye to you properly, all right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Talk to you next time. Bye.